Kia ora and welcome back once again, everybody. Hey, this is my reaction to Jamie Pennell's interview that he's doing with a good friend, or somebody that I like to call a good friend anyway, Mr. Damian Porter from the Straight Talk Mind and Muscle podcast show that he has. He's served as a soldier. He's also gone on, served in the police force. He's currently a firefighter still to this day, I believe, and living over in Western Australia with his family. So I've seen Jamie Pennell's. I've done a reaction to one of Jamie Pennell's interviews that he did on, I think it was Radio New Zealand. There's like the 30-minute show. And I know that Jamie has done a number of other interviews with other people, but I haven't watched any of those. And this is the first one that I will be watching. So I wanted to do it with, glad Damian's got him, because Damian would have been in the unit, I think, as a commando at the time, or on the counter-terrorism team at the same time that Jamie was there, but they'll probably talk about that. I have skipped forward to about 4 minutes 36 into there, because Damo was giving a really nice introduction about Jamie and what he's done, with some visuals and stuff overlaid. So if you want to go and watch that, you can. I'll put a link to Damian's interview with Jamie in the description. So anyway, let's jump on in.
And we're live. Welcome to the Straight Talk Mind and Muscle podcast. Welcome my guest this morning. Finally, another Kiwi, James Pennell. Thank you for coming on.
Appreciate it. Looking forward to getting into it.
Oh, Jamie, it's so nice to be able to interview friends. I mean, I'm in a blessed place to be able to interview the best people in the world at what they do, and they become friends. But in this case, I actually get to showcase a friend. So I'm looking forward to it as well.
Cool.
Dude, you wrote a book.
There's that humour within the unit, humility and humour, a couple of the tenets within the unit, at least in the NZSAS, but I think pretty synonymous worldwide in terms of the SF unit. You've got to have a good sense of humour. But I like Jamie's dry sense of humour there when Damo's saying these lovely words, so great to have a friend, blah, 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 and he's like, cool. It's like, come on, bro. Yeah, but hard case to see. Let's crack on.
And I saw it on your socials the other day. We're going to go right into it all, but what's the book about?
So the book is about my journey from selection, transitioning through, and then out of the New Zealand Special Air Service. So sort of highlighting areas of selection, like what to expect, what you'd expect in it, and some of the toll that it takes on your body, of course, some of the things that I'm thinking in my head. The training and operations pretty much speaks for itself. That was over a period of 18 odd years, training and operating within the regiment. And the operational side of it goes into quite a bit of detail. So essentially, it's not something that would normally be done, I guess, but keeping in the realms of, not giving away what shouldn't be given away. And it's almost like you're sitting on my shoulder, walking around in these operational experiences. And then obviously the biggest part of any soldier or officer's career is the transition out and how I've dealt with that.
Sounds very complete. Winding back, you and I probably read Bravo 20. We read about the Kiwi that was in that job as well. And back in the day, and gosh, aren't we showing our age when we say those sort of words? Back in the day when we read those books, there was all these things we wanted to know.
Subtle nudge on the grey hair. Oh, yeah, the grey hairs are coming through again for me. Just very quickly, a couple of things. One, I had the privilege to catch up and meet Jamie properly, like for the first time, properly outside of, he was one of the directing staff on my selection back in 1998. He was a recently badged member within the unit. And so he must have been in there maybe about a year or so. So when I say recently badged, he was badged, but then would have been in the unit for probably close to a year by the time he was a directing staff when I come through as a candidate. And so I'd never met him before. I'd heard about him from 1st Battalion because I was at 1st Battalion, obviously got there after him, but I'd heard that he was from 1st Battalion. And then I got to meet him. They have a group of the guys that get together fairly regularly, from what I understand, maybe once a month or every couple of months, which is awesome. Awesome. Jim Blackwell from the Woolly Apiata reaction that I did, who was the CO, he was there. There were some other fellas. Regan was there. I mentioned Regan before because I can't remember if it was him or Caddy. They brought the Reluctant Hero DVD into country in Baghdad at the time. And yeah, a few other fellas. Hutch was there. He's out now. Gary, I think the guy that runs the Onward Bar in Tauport, he was there. Just trying to think, bloody who else? There's a few other people there anyway. And and that's where I first met Razor, the Crusade at the time as Crusaders coach, or he may have just been recently appointed as the All Blacks coach. I'm not sure, but got to meet him in person too, which was pretty cool. But anyway, coming back to here, meeting Jamie at that time at that event was really nice. Just it was brief, maybe 10 minutes or so. We had a bit of a chat, and he asked me a couple of questions. He asked me if I still missed it. I don't recall what I said to him at the time. I like to think that I said, yeah, probably still do, but like that part is over now. That part of my career and that sort of thing, or work life, is over. But yeah, on reflection, thinking about it and the question that he asked me, that's always, for some strange reason, it's always stayed here. And I think maybe that may be part of the reason why I've felt drawn to do these reactions as well, because yeah, if I'm honest, I do. I miss it. I miss the guys. I miss the work. I miss the opportunity to be in that environment and be surrounded by people that are just so much better than me, and to try to learn from them. So yeah, it's been nice to think about that. So seeing this here, seeing him having a chat, and just seeing the little quirks of his personality and his humour come through is nice. Yeah, I think that's what I was going in to talk about, those things. Can't remember if there was something else, but anyway, I'm going to hit play again.
Oh, like what about this part of selection? And what about this part? It sounds like you've written it from actually, this is what I would have wanted to know 18 years ago as a guy starting. Is that sort of what I'm getting at?
Sorry, that's right. I remember now the other part I was going to talk about. Apologies for that. Is when Damo mentioned Bravo 20. I've never read that book. I never read it while I was going through. It was all the rage, and it was very popular when I was going through particularly infantry corps training. I hadn't heard about it until infantry corps training. There were a few people on my corps training down in Burnham that had the book, that were talking about it. And I suppose because I had heard them talk about it so much, I probably felt like I had already read it. If I'm completely honest, it's just because I couldn't be bothered reading. Like, I didn't like reading at the best of times. And so I really wasn't wired towards looking to wanting to read that book, although I'd heard good things about it, which is probably sort of strange, really, if you think about it, for somebody that's wanting to go and serve and join the SAS, which was me from the age of 14, and now I'm 18 in the army. I'm on corps training. There's this book out about the SAS, and I'm not reading it, or didn't have a desire to read it either. I'd heard about the Kiwi in the patrol, and I was privileged to meet that individual as well. The Kiwi that went over, he's the one that, from what I understand, because I met him at Phil Hookyounger's gathering, he did selection as a civilian and passed really well. Then I believe he went to corps training and then to a battalion to get some, maybe for 12 months or so. Then he was back on cycle and went through and got badged, and then decided to head over to the UK and do their selection, their whole process, their 6-month selection process. Got badged, went through, got on probation, deployed on operations, and was part of that patrol. But a very very humble man as well. So it was a privilege to meet him. So yeah, that was the other part when Damo spoke about Bravo 20. But in particular, coming back, Jamie's book, I haven't read that. I definitely would read that book, especially the way that Jamie has described it just now, and sort of put you on his shoulder. But some of the reasons why and behind why he's done the book, I think he may mention it later, but from what I understand, it's also got a large part in their recognition and tribute in memory of Stephen Askin, who tragically passed away after his service in the regiment, whilst trying to help save people and properties and stuff during the fires down in the South Island. So they'll no doubt talk about that at some stage in this interview. But again, I'm rambling on and taking up all the time, so I'm going to come back and hit play.
Yeah, pretty much. There's just I'm staying within the left and right of arc, of course, like everyone stays within the left and right of arc, but it doesn't appear that way. But yeah, there's a lot in there. I definitely want to give people a feel whether they're they're interested in it, or they want to be going into a special forces unit.
The left and right of arc, for those that may not know what he's talking about or what that is referencing, when you're out on a task, and if I just use open country as a basic example, oftentimes you would stake your weapons, so staking them so that your gun can slide and pivot along, and you'd have a left and right stake. And once you pivot your gun towards that, then that's your left of arc, and that's your right of arc. They typically interlink with other members within your platoon, company, whatever it may be, wherever you're positioned, and how you're facing out in terms of the likely approach of an enemy coming. And anything within that left and right of arc is what you're responsible for and what you need to make sure that you're covering. So when he's talking about he's stayed within the left and right of arc, he hasn't gone outside or beyond what would be deemed either inappropriate or too sensitive to divulge in his book. So hopefully that makes sense.
What the reality looks like, with a full career. And, it not only talks about the activities that we're doing, it also talks about the toll it takes on your body, some of the mental aspects of coming back from operations, and again, particularly the transition piece. I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yeah, we definitely will. It's amazing. And just touching on that, and for the listeners, interviewing Nick Caldwell, SASR, and for the listeners, that's the Australian Special Air Service. I like to call it our four cousins, but it's not quite the case. His quote was,
"They're definitely not four cousins, and Nick Caldwell is a great man, very good man." Let's see what else he's going to say.
Transitioning into civilian life was harder than war. So that gives the listeners an idea of where we're probably going to get to as well. Really cool that you touched on the operation.
Sorry, I've got to say something there. That's a great comment from Nick. Not surprising that he would say something like that. Very, very intelligent individual and just a very, very good human. I'm proud and privileged to be able to call Nick a friend. We did have a bit of an incident during the time with the gym that we had, but we've reconciled that, or at least I have anyway, and just re-established our friendship, and really grateful for what he's done and what he's gone on and done with it over there in Perth. But it's not surprising to hear him make a statement like that. Transitioning into civilian life was harder than going to war. That's something that you reflect on, at least in my case, and maybe in Nick's as well. Can't speak for him, but definitely in my case, that you reflect on and think, gearing up and getting ready to go to war. I'll be honest, we were excited. We were excited from the perspective of, now we get to test ourselves. Now we get to put what we've done in training, everything that we've thought about, what we've been preparing for, why we wanted to serve. Now here's where the rubber meets the road, and now we're gearing up and we're going. And that part, in line with what Nick was saying, but for me, in that part, that was easy. Getting ready, it wasn't even difficult saying bye to family, I'll be honest, because again, we're about to go and step in country and do what we've been training for, which was the only reason I joined the Defence Force. So that transition out and into civilian life leaves a big hole. At least it did for me. Left a huge hole, big gap, and something that is difficult if you're not prepared for it, and I wasn't prepared for it at the time.
And that's what readers like to know about. They want to pull back the kimono, and really clever you've done it without giving away those secrets as well. I guess then the next question, the obvious one, is, why did you decide to write a book? Because there's so many people. I mean, you look at so many big names from the unit and from the different units, and they haven't got around to doing that. But what made you decide to write a book?
Well, I think you have to have a story first. Writing a book has to come with something. I probably wouldn't have written a book, 5 years into my career. I doubt I had much to put on paper, but once I'd left, and when you leave.
Sorry, I'll jump in there as well. It's like me. Yeah, I don't have anything to write a book about. And I think there's probably another layer of why I love these reactions that I have the privilege to do, because then I get to listen and learn from some of their experiences and take that away and apply it, whether it's about transition, whether it's about how they overcame obstacles or challenges or difficult times or trauma during their service, and how they relate that and how they link it into how they get through everyday life. There's just a heck of a lot of learnings in there for me personally, somewhat selfishly, but I love it. I enjoy it. And then hopefully sprinkling in my 2 cents on my experience can help others or viewers that may be interested in not only that individual that they're looking at, and or who they may know, but some of what I might share might also contribute in some small way. As small as it is, I hope that it's positive, and for me, that's all that really matters, and that's a big part of why I have the privilege and why I do what I do with these reactions.
For soldiers and officers that know, you start thinking in a different direction. I had a lot of people talk to me about writing a book, and they're having a bit of a laugh about it, but then it was like, I think you should write a book. And that was from people that were currently serving, had got out, some of my family and other people all around me. And, if you believe in symbology, you start taking notice of what's being said to you, whether you're religious or not, or you're spiritual. You need to take notice of some of that repetitive messaging. You're either going to act on it or you're not. It's up to you. But the real kick was when...
Anybody listening to that, I don't know if you felt the same as what I just felt, but when he spoke about symbology, like I don't have any of that sort of thought process. But what resonates with me and what stands out is obviously there were lots of people speaking to him about it. Current serving members, previous serving members, or previous members that had served, family members, friends, etc. And all of those things, all those signs and signals for him, just sort of made me think about my current journey right now with regards to this YouTube channel. As basic and as humble as it is, I love it. And I'd had a strong desire to want to pick it back up and step back into it again. If I'm honest, I didn't want to step away from it at the start, but I had my reasons, and I did a video about that on the channel for anybody that's interested. There were 2 main reasons in that in there. And I appreciated on the back of the questions that came through, once some people that were following me before then said, "Oh, hey, you're back." And then they asked some questions. So that prompted me to just sort of put that video out there to try to answer that for people. But this has definitely been a draw for me, a pull towards, not to try to be any sort of special influencer or anything like that, but to hopefully share some knowledge and information and experience that I've had the privilege to learn over a period of time, and been able to apply that not only in the military but also outside. And maybe, just maybe, it might help one person. And if it does that, I'm stoked, I'm happy. If it happens to positively have a positive impact on more than one person, even better, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I just love the way Jamie spoke about that, and it just resonated with me. Hey, I've had this drive. Whatever it is that you might have, you may be having a drive to do something right now, whatever that might be. It might be a career change. It might be to do a course. It might be to apply for a job that you think you're not qualified for, or on paper you may not have the qualifications for, but lived experience wise, you've got all the competency and knowledge and skill and expertise to be able to nail that role, if given an opportunity. But if you sit back and you don't do anything about it, well, then you're never going to know. You're never going to find out. Likewise, if I had sat back and not pulled the trigger and just gone, hey, just start again, start a channel again, get into it and see what happens. Let the cards fall where they may. And if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be where I am now, wouldn't have just the huge privilege and honour to have, a little over 600 subscribers that have felt my channel worthy of your time and of your subscription. And that means a heck of a lot more than I can adequately express. So get after it is what I'm hearing Jamie say. If you've got a prompting or these symbols or signs popping up for you to do stuff, or you've got an urge, an overwhelming desire, urge to want to do something for the right reasons, then you should get after it and go do it.
Steve Askin was killed. And for those of your listeners that don't know Steve Askin was a soldier in the squadron with me, significant member, truly espoused the tenets of the regiment. But he died once he got out as the lead pilot fighting the Port Hill fires in Christchurch in 2015. Unfortunately, the monsoon bucket wrapped up around the rotor, the back rotor there, and spun the helicopter out of control. There's no way he's going to recover it. Anyway, post his funeral, Paul Askin, his father, asked if I wanted to write some stuff up on Steve about his time in the regiment to give to his family, particularly his kids, so they knew what he's like in there. So that pushed me across the line. I started writing that up, and then I thought, well, I've got that far, so I might as well keep going.
Wow, that's
awesome. Sorry, Damo, cutting you off. I'll go back to Damo soon. But that's awesome that he's done that. And awesome that Steve's dad, Paul, I think he said, approached Jamie and asked, I could imagine how special and how important that would be for his father, for his mother, for his wife, for his children, for his family and friends that wouldn't have known the type of work that Steve was doing in the unit and how much that must mean to them. So awesome, Jamie. Awesome job.
So, what an answer. Yeah, it's amazing when other people tell you stuff and then unrelated people are saying the same thing. Write this book, you got a story to tell, all those sort of things. But I think a lot of our job is service, and we're going to get to that when we look at the mission statement for the incident you got your commendation in, or one of them at least. And when Steve's family is asking you to write for him, it takes the pressure off us, like, look at me, and you're actually just trying to serve others, in this case, serving one of your comrades in the squadron.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, going back to,
Sorry, Jamie. Well put, Damo. Awesome comments. Yeah, awesome way of breaking that down and explaining it. Perfect.
The book itself and what it's about. I mean, yeah, of course, I'm on the front cover. My face is there. It's a little bit awkward, and I'm talking about it from my perspective. But the book is about we. You know what I mean? It's about the men and women that I serve with, and particular people that are significant and I care about. Throughout the book. So they are definitely highlighted in there.
That's the thing I got about joining. When I joined the squadron, the counter-terrorist team, it was team. And what came out so much of that was, it was phenomenal what the team could do. You got a whole bunch of very skilled operators for sure, but when they come together, it's just beyond the scope of comprehension of what that team can achieve as a 2-man, 4-man, as a 16-man, whatever it is. But and that's what you live for. You live for your mates in that role, don't you?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's hard to explain the gelling, how we gel as teams in the military, particularly in the special forces environment, because it's just another level. And to get there, you have to be really put into pretty critical situations, whether it's in training and is getting it as close as possible to reality, or definitely on operations, because on operations you're not only operating with, qualified special forces members, but also your support staff that are on target with you, and you have a pretty unique bond with them where they travel through some of those critical incidents as well.
We'll come back to that, but because you're speaking about operational and the team and how they gel and what, reading between the lines there, how well you can do the job, let's move forwards to Kabul and to the job that you got that commendation on. That iconic photo, now you're in the public eye, and we don't have to black the eyes out so much anymore. You're all friends, and some have been bosses in that photo of mine. Talk us through that that hostage rescue, or that operation, as it were. That photo was taken of everybody at the end with Steve, with the blood coming off and so on. That iconic photo. What was that job about?
So a number of terrorists had taken over the Kabul Intercontinental Hotel in 2011 on the 28th of June, I think it was. And basically they'd gone and killed a number of guests and taken up positions throughout the building, particularly on the roof. At the time, we were enabling. We had an enabling group, and we had a training team that were training the crisis response unit. That was our partner force at the time. They were a specialist police unit that were charged with the security of not only Kabul, but also the outlying provinces, and it was mainly high-risk arrests and dealing with spectacular attacks was their main objectives, or their main roles and responsibilities. So the mentor team turned up with the CIU. We turned up later, and then over the next 10 hours, we basically went through the building, hunted them down one by one. We had helicopter support as well, and then got everyone out of their rooms and handed them over to the Afghan National Security Forces.
You just really summarised that really well in a short period of time, just hearing that. But I love how Damian's just letting him speak through that too, but also Jamie's ability to be able to articulate such a long, drawn-out process, the lead-up that must have been taking place and happening before it, the comms that would have been, or the communication that would have been getting transferred or shared, not only with his team, but then obviously with the locals in that as well, and potentially other forces or other coalition forces, particularly if they're having air assets and stuff as well. I don't know if it was their own Kiwis in the air, or most likely probably Americans, and maybe some Kiwis in the choppers in that as well, Kiwi SAS operators in the chopper as well. There's a lot to unpack in there, and he's just been able to sort of wrap it up pretty succinctly. So it's our time. It's nearly 30 minutes. I think I'm going to leave this here because I've been rambling on, and I'm mindful that I'll probably do that again and go well over the 30 minutes. But we're coming back, and I will get through the whole of this interview that Damian does with Jamie, just as I will get through the other interviews that I'm still chipping away through. So I appreciate your time and being here. Appreciate your support. I appreciate the fact that you hopefully, or those that have at least shared and expressed in the comments, that you get something from these or from my reaction anyway, from my 2 cents, and it means a lot. So I'm very, very grateful for it. I know I say this a lot. Not the greatest at being able to articulate exactly how, but just know and trust that it means a heck of a lot to me. I'm very, very grateful to you and for you for your support. And yeah, I'm going to keep going regardless. I would have kept going if I had no subscribers, or if I had one. The fact that there's a few hundred that have been willing to give of their time just makes it even better from a personal perspective. So thank you again. As always, actually, before we close, just a tip cap and nod to those that are preparing for Anzac Day tomorrow, or maybe it's today. By the time you see this, it probably will be, because I'll put Willie's up and Jamie's up on Anzac Day, which is tomorrow here for us here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. Grateful for those sacrifices, past, present, and future. Those serving members, men and women that are to come. Grateful for those sacrifices that have been made, not only by the active serving members, but by their family members who also serve as well when a member of their family serves, especially their immediate family. So appreciate you, lest we forget, we will remember them. And just grateful to have been a part of the service in both New Zealand and Australia, and have an opportunity to try to contribute in some small way. Grateful for those that are coming along, that will continue that legacy on and make it even better. Grateful for those that laid the foundation for us to stand on their shoulders and to try to honour and respect them for the service and commitment and dedication that they've shown and that they've given. To those that may not feel anything towards, about the Anzacs or military in general, hey, you're entitled to your opinion, and so respect you and your decision and your opinion. If that's how you feel, so be it. But this message is for those that do feel something and that do care about the service that our men and women have provided and that will provide going forward and that currently provide now. That also includes, from my perspective, our first responders, police, firefighters, ambulance, paramedics, all that sort of stuff. Man, we are blessed to have people that are willing to serve and sacrifice, run into the fire when the rest of us are running out of it, go to the danger when a call is made, instead of the rest of us looking to get away from that. People who are willing to go in and help and try to preserve life and save life, even if that person has been responsible for atrocities or doing things to people that they should never have done in the first place. It says a lot about those individuals and the mana, the character, the heart that they have, and the willingness to go into danger and to serve. So, in closing now, any challenges, obstacles, trials that you may be going through, I sincerely hope you stay in the fight, that you keep pressing forward, that you go always a little further, that you just keep turning up every day, as hard as it may be. There are better days to come. There are better days ahead. Just stay in the fight a little bit longer. Go always a little further, everybody. And as always, who dares wins. Till the next video.